don't know if you can see it. I can't really see it. I don't know. But I guess it's like at certain angles you can see it. I don't know. It feels more prominent. I mean, I feel it like right there, like, you know. The 23rd, baby stash. Now, you're not gonna be able to see it. Oh shit, you can see it. Okay, so I'll put pictures too, but I've always had a shadow here. I am starting to get some acne right there, by the way. I just noticed that. I have something there. But I'm starting to get it around my nose. And I never really had acne growing up. I had like 1 or 2 here and there, but I never had like breakouts. So I'm starting to get it around my nose. But I have been like using product placement. I have been using these on my face. It's backwards. It says Dude Wipes. You can find them at Walmart. I've also been washing my face with Neutrogena Men Invigorating Face Wash, and it's got menthol in it, so it kind of burns like a bitch. But then I put lotion on afterwards because it makes my face dry. So I have been taking care of my face, but I knew acne was probably going to be a thing. But I've always had a shadow over my upper lip. And I've always had kind of darker hairs here and there, but I have a full mustache. And you can't see it, not in this lighting, but if I take a picture with the flash on in the dark, you can see it. It's so extra, but it's there. But it's really prominent on the corners of my mouth. You can't see it because of the lighting. But it just looks darker right here. Probably shouldn't be touching my face as much because it's oily and gonna get oil. And my face, like, is just, it's a little rougher. My skin has always been really soft, but I've been having these, like, breakouts around my tattoos. Like, there's that one. And there's some up here. Previous burns that I had from work are raising, and scars from me being stupid are raising, and skin, like, around my tattoos are starting to kind of fade a little bit more than they were, or like raising, or like the texture's kind of weird, and I think that's just my skin changing. Me and Vanessa talked about that last night. She kind of pointed it out, but I think it's just my skin changing, because my skin is going to change, it's going to get rougher, but it hasn't really yet. But there's some patches and spots that do feel a little bit more rougher than before, like the texture. So yeah, I'll put pictures again of my stash. It's not really much. I did start using minoxidil. It's been a few weeks now, but I did start using it. And I don't know, everyone's different. But for me, it was making my face really like hot and red around where I was spraying it and letting it dry. And it was making it very like sticky. And I think that might just be the chemical and what it does, but it wasn't a good feeling for me, and I didn't really like how it made my face feel. And literally where I sprayed would all be red. Like, I sprayed along my jawline and along my upper lip and along my like lower lip and like down here, and it just would all be red all day. And I didn't like it, and I didn't like the way it tasted. It tastes disgusting, and I would get it on my upper lip and would just be there. And I didn't like how Vanessa couldn't like kiss me on my cheek or like my mouth without being like, oh, I taste it, you know, or like lick my face, because she likes to just randomly lick my face, and I'm fine with it. But the minoxidil probably tasted disgusting, and I really don't want her growing hair on her tongue. That wouldn't be great. So, and I also stopped using it because I really want to see what I can grow on my own. And I think I was just really eager and really wanted some results, because I have seen a lot of dudes who do use minoxidil, even pre-T, and they have amazing results. I'm like, wow, that's awesome. And I mean, I'm not saying in any way minoxidil, like, don't use it, but it just wasn't for me. I didn't like the smell or the chemical feeling on my skin at all times. I felt like it was drying my skin out, and I just didn't like it. And I really want to see what I can do with T and on my own. I want to see what kind of facial hair I can grow on my own, and I know it might take a while, but I really want to see what I can do. Just me and my hormones, you know. And it's cool though, if you want to use stuff to kind of speed your process, or, you know, that's what they're there for. So nothing against that, just wasn't for me. And then Christmas Eve, I noticed that my shoulders are a lot broader. I don't know if you can tell in this hoodie. But, well, now that I'm getting naked, I may as well just show you my muscles. But, okay, there we go. But, oh, yeah, so my shoulders, wow, they really have gotten broader. My shoulders have broadened out. The muscles I'm talking about are down here. This is a lot more, like, prominent than before. I mean, these have always been more prominent because of where I work, but, like, down here has a lot more definition. My armpit hair hasn't really grown much. This is, like, the length it's always been. So, and I haven't really noticed my face changing much. I've always had a stronger jawline, so that hasn't really changed, I don't think. I don't think my face has gotten wider. I don't think my eyebrows have really gotten that much thicker because I've already had thick eyebrows. My hairline isn't really different. I've always had a widow's peak. It hasn't thinned out, but I do keep the sides cut, so maybe I just should let them grow out. But I like the sides shaved short. But I haven't noticed, like, anything receding, you know? The men in my family, like my dad and my dad's side, they all have really thick hair. My mom's side, my grandpa, he's kind of balding a little bit, but he has thick hair. The men on my mom's side were able to grow full beards. The men on my dad's side have been able to grow full beards, so I'm not really too worried about the hair. Losing hair, male pattern baldness, you know, hairline receding. I'm not too worried about that because my dad is 56 and he still has a full head of hair. I do have some grays, but that's just in genetics. See that one right there? That one silver little fucker. But yeah, so those are like the physical changes. God, I hope this video doesn't cut out. So now on to like the second thing I wanted to talk about. Let me put my shirt back on because I feel like I'm just gonna be like sitting in the buff, not even buff, but you know. Okay, there we go. Yay, thanks. So, I really did want to touch on this other part, the mental changes of being on testosterone. Okay, so the first thing I noticed, the day I got my hormones, the day I went to Planned Parenthood, the day I did all that big adult thing, I didn't feel right all day. Because I was off that day, I overslept, so I was late to my appointment, and that really threw me all off. Everything happened really fast, and my service and everything in the Planned Parenthood, my service at Planned Parenthood, thank you, was awesome. I mean, the doctors were great, the nurses were great, everyone there was really accepting, super easy to talk to, my anxiety wasn't too bad. It was kind of hard when I was in there by myself. I couldn't have Vanessa come back with me, and that's just for their protection. They deal a lot with abuse, like domestic abuse and stuff like that, and so they want to talk to you one-on-one in case something is happening. Nothing's happening, by the way. We're in a very healthy, happy relationship, but that's always there, and they always want to have that precaution, you know. So I respect that. I mean, that's cool. So I was able to be back there alone, and I got why. I understood why. It wasn't a stupid reason. It was very understandable, so totally understood that. Abuse is a very serious topic, and it's not cool, any kind of abuse. There's a lot of drama in the LGBT community right now about abuse, and I can't stand it. So, anyway, that's for another video. But very overwhelmed that day. When I got my shot, that's on video. You can go back and watch it. Very overwhelmed. But I did have this overwhelming feeling of happiness and the feeling of a burden being lifted off my shoulders. Very awesome. I mean, I really felt like a boulder just rolled off of my back and I just could breathe. very happy. I no longer dreaded waking up and getting out of bed. I was always eager to wake up and get out of bed and look in the mirror and see what's different, or, you know, just go about my day and experience new things and be able to just be just relieved that I finally got to the goal that I wanted to get to. And I mean, I'm not saying I'm done. I'm still working towards other things, but hormones, got that. It's under my belt. It's literally, it's being injected into my thigh, but it's there, and it's good. You know, things are going great. But, and I was prepared for this, kind of. I knew that with testosterone, there would be some things that are kind of iffy. And I'm not saying this in a negative way. Like, I've been able to deal with it just fine. But you don't feel things the same. And I've always been really in touch with my emotions, and that's something that I've always kind of loved and hated about myself. I've always been able to express my emotions, and I've always been able to identify my emotions, and I've always been able to feel my feelings really well. Sometimes against my will. Sometimes really didn't want to. Sometimes, no matter how hard I tried to black out bad things that have happened to me, I couldn't, and I would feel them and live them, and just a lot of my depression stemmed from being stuck in dwelling cycles where I would just focus and dwell so hard on something that was going on or had gone on in my past that I just couldn't let go of. But now I don't feel emotions like that anymore. They're not very strong. They're just kind of there. And since starting testosterone, I haven't been able to cry. Now, some people may be like, that's good. Some people may be like, oh no. Some people may be like, it's part of it. That's where I'm at. I'm kind of like, it's part of it. But I'm one of the people who, when I start talking about a very emotional topic or something that like runs really deep, I get choked up about it. I'll start crying. I mean, you've watched my XY Chronicles plenty before, where there's one where I talk about dysphoria, there's one where I talk about, you know, transphobia. There's a few sprinkled in there where I do break down and start crying about my financial situation, or about dysphoria, or about how, you know, my family will never accept me, or about, you know, things that really bother me. And now, you know, I've talked about certain things that usually would get me teary and choked up and kind of worked up. I've talked about them, and it was right here. The feeling of like, I'm gonna cry was right here in my throat, in my chest, in my whatever this is called, this vicinity. It was right there, and it was ready to come out. I was ready to cry. My eyes didn't even water up. I really can't cry. And it's not like I've tried to make myself cry. It's not like I've sat there and just dwelled on everything that happened to me in my life. You know, it's not like I thought about all the negativity and everything and just like tried to cry. Like, no. But things that normally would make me cry or get choked up or at least teary-eyed didn't do a thing. Yeah, I felt the sadness, or I felt the heartbreak, or I felt the anger, or I felt the weight. I felt it, but I just couldn't emote. And it's different. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just different, because I've always been really like super connected with my ability to cry. And crying is a good release. Sometimes it's kind of like, yikes, headache afterwards, eyes puffy afterwards, nose is stuffed afterwards. You know, it's not fun to cry, but sometimes it's good because it's a release. But I haven't been able to cry. Tears of happiness, tears of sadness, tears of just straight up confusion, like none. No crying at all. I've been able to feel like super happy or super overwhelmed or super dysphoric or super sad, or I've been able to feel them and identify them, but I've not been able to emote, to actually express them, other than just talking about them. I don't really know, like I do kind of bottle up some of my dysphoria and some of the stuff I battle daily in my head. I kind of just keep to myself. I've always done that. That hasn't changed, but just my ability to cry is not there. And it kind of worries me, but it kind of doesn't, because it's kind of cool to be like, yeah, I can't cry. What's up? I can't cry. No tears. None. Tear bank's empty. you know, because I've cried a lot in my life, and nothing wrong with it. But it's kind of nice to not have to worry about breaking down in the middle of a conversation about something really deep or like painful to me, you know. But every other emotion I've been able to feel super great. Anger, that's one that was like, whoa, chill. There's very few people in my local vicinity that I see occasionally that I don't like. And one in particular person that I really don't like, because he literally said, unless you have a penis, you're not a male, or unless you have a vagina, you're not a female type thing. Like, your genitals determine. And he literally said that about me and was like, oh, I understand everything, but Vic's a chick type shit. So I've felt like mad hot anger for him, and it was never any kind of anger I've ever felt. Like, I was literally seeing red, about to kill this motherfucker. So that's it, though. I mean, other than that, mentality has been fine, but that's just the only thing about my mentality that's kind of been weird. Also, my dysphoria has been really strong, like I said before, dealing with public and dealing with strangers, and being misgendered 99.9% of the time. It's just, it really weighs heavy on my mental, so that's been kind of hard lately. And it's hard to share those feelings with others because, you know, people will be like, what's wrong? What's going on? You seem different. You seem like you've been distancing yourself. Yeah, that's my coping mechanism. Thank you for noticing. But I don't want to, every single time I get asked what's wrong, I don't want to be like, dysphoria. Because it's like, oh, of course. It's like, yeah, it's something I battle daily, you know, constantly. I'm dysphoric about a lot of things, so it's just, I don't know. It's part of it, but my mentality's been kind of wishy-washy. Also, the time of year, the holidays are very rough for me, just because my family and the way they are about me being trans. It's hard to be around that. And this year was the very first year that I didn't go around my family for Christmas. Like, the first year out of 27 years. So for 26 years, I went to Christmas. And I know I've only been out as trans since 2015, but I still was the black sheep, you know. Used to identify as lesbian. That's like, whoa. Then, you know, gender fluid, whoa. Then trans, you know, whoa. So every year since my teenage years has been super rough, because it's just the atmosphere and everything there is very uncomfortable for me. So this was the very first year I just didn't go for my mental health. And it was kind of difficult. I just felt very blah all day. I didn't cry. Once again, can't cry. But if I could, I would have. You know what I mean? Like, I just felt really ugh. And every time I get in that mindset of like, ugh, I just go numb. There's no expression of emotion. There's no nothing. And I think that's part of being on T. Because before I would just like, nobody loves me. You know, like, but now I'm just like, nobody loves me. Nobody loves me. But that's not true. My family does love me, but they don't agree with what I'm doing, and that is very rough for me to handle because it's me. So, and I get it, you know, I get it. My mom did raise a daughter for 23 years. So, I get it. I don't hold that over her anymore, but it is still hard when you're told that you're confused. I just think you're confused. That hurt really bad. So, still trying to recover from that. But other than that, this journey has been awesome. And of course, I will continuously update everyone on what's going on. You know, expect the 2-month on T, 3-month on T. You know, expect the interval every month. And if something drastic happens, like my voice suddenly just drops really deep, then I'll squeeze in an update video there. But just expect these monthly. That doesn't mean that's going to be all the content I post, but as far as right now, it is, because I'm very busy and I work a lot and I don't really have spare time. And when I do have spare time, I'd like to spend it with my girlfriend You know, so yeah. But this is my 1 month update, and thanks for checking out my journey and going through it with me. It's been fun so far. Here's to many more changes, and y'all have a good one.